Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you another game between LiquidTLO and Nada, this time on Kulas Ravine. Now, I'm pretty sure that Kulas Ravine was recently removed from the StarCraft 2 1v1 map selection. So I'm not sure if when this particular game was actually broadcast. I know it is part of patch 1.1.1. So I'm assuming that this game was pretty recent. Perhaps the Korean servers are still playing on Kulas Ravine and Desert Oasis. Anyways, Nada spawning over here on the bottom left-hand side of Kulas Ravine as the blue Terran player. Meanwhile, LiquidTLO spawned as the red Terran player over here on the bottom right-hand side. So Terran versus Terran once again, and this time on Kulas Ravine. We do see the standard supply depots being placed down. Both players pretty much having the same exact mirror build. If you just had a mirror down the center line of this minimap, both sides doing the same exact thing so far. Are their rally points the same? No. Alright, so not quite the same, but you know, close enough for government work. Anyways, back here, just continuing to mine more and more. We should be seeing a barracks being thrown down in just a moment by both sides as well. It looks as though TLO had a little bit of an economic advantage or a timing advantage, so able to train up that SCV a little bit more quickly, not being supply locked nearly as long. TLO now training up one barracks over, or building that barracks one over here, and meanwhile Nada building that barracks over here, both sides rallying it to that choke point. Now Kulas Ravine is one of those maps which is very interesting, especially for Terran versus Terran matchups. You cannot create a wall off just because there is no ramp, there is no high ground ramp on into your base. So another opposing Terran player can use one Marauder, one Marine here, start firing at your front door well beyond range of anything on the other side of your wall. Normally they would have to walk up your ramp in order to gain sight, but in this particular instance they do not have to. We now see an SCV move out from TLO, so TLO moving out with this SCV and will be coming, or is now into the space of Nada. So Nada quickly going to be revealed, and now the strategy, or the basic strategy, knowing that nothing too out of the ordinary coming in so far. So now we do see a second barracks. So will TLO respond with his normal factory, or will he go for a second barracks? He does not even have he does not even have a refinery, so he's going for an 18 or a 20 command center, probably going to lift it off from this location into this location. I would suggest, as the Terran player or as TLO, if he wants to be sneaky like this, he needs to build that command center on the other side, and these Marines need to get down this SCV. If they're able to get down that SCV, yeah, very nicely done. Getting down that SCV, making sure that even though there is no tech lab here, he does not know that there's no refineries on these two Vespene geysers. We now see one SCV activating this Zelnaga watchtower as a command center now being placed down. A second barracks also being placed down as well, as TLO is going to be behind in the gas game, needs to train up as many Marines as possible. If we see a refinery down, that means that we will have an opening for more and more Marauders. However, we now see TLO going for a 3-racks build for mass Marines. So mass Marines now being trained, Nada not knowing this, now training up Marauders and Marines as well. All of this from one barracks with a reactor and another barracks with a tech lab. As soon as gas is being placed down, I'm assuming TLO will be going into a more of a heavy Marauder build. However, there is no room for tech labs on one of these barracks. So that is a very interesting proposition, as this command center now perhaps going to... Oh, Nada now coming in with a quick scanner sweep, revealing that there is already a command center here. So now a bunker needs to be placed down. So TLO, being very smart, after revealing his strategy to Nada, needs to get down a bunker. And now we see that these destructible rocks are taking some damage. Is he going to load anything into that command center, lift it off, and then perhaps try to take that top ground location there? We do see the refinery now already up and running. However, I do not see a tech lab just quite yet, as this barracks taking 35 units of time. Marines need to jump in there, and now we have an upgrade to an orbital command first. That is a very interesting move, especially since TLO could have taken this high ground with 5 SCVs in its belly and then upgraded it to an orbital command. We now see a tech lab being placed down here and no additional buildings being placed down here. So the fact that TLO has an additional barracks doesn't mean anything, as Nada has a reactor on one of his barracks. So the production output from both of these sides are going to be exactly the same. However, TLO is going to be behind on that Marauder count, just because he does not have he has not had that tech lab nearly as long. this Destructible Rocks down to 700 hit points here, calling down mules, trying to get more and more, and now barracks going to be coming in. We do see one bunker in this position, and we see a lot of Marines here. These Destructible Rocks taking a lot of damage. They do have a base of 3 armor, so now if this attack comes in right now, oh, Nada just going to be able to punish this very easily. Down goes the bunker, and now the rest of these Marines need to come in. SCV is also coming off the line, taking some of that damage as well. Marines trying to give chase, however, not going to be enough. As this fight continues, Destructible Rocks down to 311 hit points, as that combat shield now being researched instead of the, instead of the stim pack. Now we do have this orbital command. We'll be able to call down and call in some more mules. SCVs now coming into that front line as well. However, Nada now opening up with a very fast expansion into the high yield mineral location, knowing that TLO is on the balls of his feet, acting in a very defensive posture. Another scanner sweep revealing that there is only barracks in his base so far, now trying to get this bunkers populated, and perhaps another bunker needs to be laid down. I do not know why so many SCVs are still off that mineral line, perhaps waiting for this pressure that's coming in from Nada. Nada now moving out with this group of Marauders and Marines. All these SCVs not mining, and that is severely hurting the economic advantage that TLO should have. He does have double mules, however, but as soon as Nada now gets this command center up over here at this high yield mineral location, those mules will be mining at an even faster rate. And I believe Nada will be trying to call down mules into this location as well. So now we see a group of Marines and Marauders on this high ground here. We do see another barracks being placed down by TLO. So TLO now really going for that mass Marine build. Has not trained up one Marauder so far and is getting a lot of gas. I do not know why he's getting so much gas if he's not going to build a factory. One SCV moving out, quickly getting taken down over here as a quick scanner sweep revealing the size of Nada's army on that high ground. Both sides have the same mineral size army. Marines are supposedly a strong counter to Marauders. However, both TLO does not have stim pack researched on these Marines. Needs stim pack, needs a little bit more time. This is going to be a very, very bad fight if this does in fact happen. And yeah, there we go. TLO trying to stim up that, or trying to move up that ramp. Marauders and Marines into this position here. However, it looks as though these mass Marines with that combat shield, so that combat shield for the win with that additional 10 hit points across so many Marines, taking out that center location. So I'm just completely baffled at that. Stim pack Marines and Marauders unable to defeat mass Marines with combat shield, as these Marines now doing a march into the base. Nada now trying to train up as many Marines as possible down over here, as these Marines now making their way. Down goes one Marine as he's trying to be rallied, and more of these Marines trying to fight. A very, very strong group of Marines just trying to make sure that they're always in position, always within range, and down go these Marauders. So the Marauders are now getting shot down. SCVs now coming off the mineral line in order to try to take some of that aggro off of some of these Marauders and Marines. Once again, mass Marines, 4 Marines just continuing to put a lot of pressure here. More Marines coming out. We see Nada with a lot of barracks here. 4 barracks, 3 of them with reactors, so it does have a stronger production capability. However, we are now going into mass of a factory and now a starport. So not sure what's happening here as these Marines now pushing back. We do see Nada now mining out of this high yield mineral location. One Marine making its way over here perhaps to try to do some scouting. And now that SCV will see this Marine. No, and the Marine now chasing that SCV. Marine now sees that there is a high yield mineral location. So this Marine's going to try to shoot down as many of these SCVs as possible. Not going to really be able to. Trying to make those SCVs go into a single file line. There we go. Very nicely done. Making sure that those SCVs are unable to get us around there. So nice micro once again. Army-wise, 1,050 versus 800, so LiquidTLO changing the whole entire game with a 1,000,000-man march once again, and now going into double medevacs. So this is classic MM. No Marauders, just Marines, and now medevacs. As this continues to move out, we do see an orbital command up here. Taking a look at the harvester count, 40 harvesters for TLO versus 30 harvesters for Nada. Nada, however, getting a stronger economic advantage because of this high yield mineral location and not mining. Or wait, now we see TLO mining gas. So he now went into from a 0 refinery build into a 4 refinery build. However, 1 SCV only on this refinery. As this fight continues, production-wise, we now see siege techs as TLO wants to continue to lay down as much pressure as possible. We do see a group of Marines here, so Marines and Marauders, no medevacs, however, and now in comes a quick scanner sweep. These Marines are going to be fully healed, now using stim trying to pull away, and now once again going to pull back out, needs to train up more medevacs as these Marines are just sitting here. Siege tank, no siege tech yet, Are these Marines going to try to come around that backside and deal damage to these destructible rocks? So we do see a lot of Marines here. Marines finally have that combat shield. No medevacs, however. So now, in come these supply depots, and now down goes one factory. So factory going to get burned down very quickly. Marines and Marauders continuing to fight here. We do see some siege tanks, however, not getting that siege tech research. Siege tech research going to be completed as this factory burns. So will be completed in just the right moment of time. If, in fact, Nada had tried to take down the factory instead, it would have stopped the siege tech research and perhaps changed the game, as the siege tech research does take, I believe, 80 units of time to complete. And the research timer would have been restarted once again. We do see medevacs now coming in from Nada, so Nada now doing the classic MMM compared to LiquidTLO's MM with siege tanks. We now see some SCVs perhaps continuing to do auto repair, trying to repair up this factory here. And now these siege tanks moving out once again. Marines trying to make sure that they stay in front and then also continue to heal more and more units. One factory now floating out will get shot down very quickly. So yeah, poor factory, just trying to do some scouting, unable to, and now gonna blow up right there. So yeah, factory now blown out of the sky as these factories, as these siege tanks, SCVs continue to move out. Siege tanks now sieging up, able to start blasting away, getting a lot of splash damage on these very tightly packed Marines, and they are just getting torn apart once again. Army-wise, it looks as though TLO going to take this game 2100 versus 1050, but the game is still too early to call, as these Marines and Marauders continuing to stim, catching these siege tanks out of position. One siege tank now continuing to blast away, trying to pull back with these Marines and Marauders, continuing to blast away once again. More siege tanks sieging up and now starting to hit all of these Marines and Marauders once again. Marines trying to push. Will we get these SCVs continuing to repair here, and perhaps even a missile turret just in case there's any air units. Siege tanks now on the low ground and continuing to blast away here. Marines trying to make their way over, however, getting blasted away once again. We do see a lot of siege tanks here. Two siege tanks here continuing to move back and forth. Siege tanks now on that high ground. And now with siege tanks on that high ground, Nada realized that he has to GG. There was also a group of Hellions coming into this position. This Hellion did not have any kills just quite yet. But with all of these SCVs lined up in a very neat row, you know for a fact that this Hellion could have gotten a lot of kills. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this game here on Kulas Ravine between Nada and LiquidTLO.